Like right off the jump. Right off the jump. That's your first problem. What do you mean the Hasan thing? Nobody knows. Half the time, these guys are so invested in their fucking little echo chamber where they're like, well, you know the latest of the Hasan thing? And it's like, what are you saying? It's almost like, you know how like when transphobes will just like laser in on the latest trans technology or whatever, or the latest like trans athlete that won third place in the fucking Iowa hot dog eating competition or some shit. And you're like, I don't know what this is. And I don't care. And you shouldn't care about it. Why do you care? Like, that's a self-report, dude. Like, what do you mean the Hasan thing? Like, why are you so invested, dude? It's crazy. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Comment, and it's just a criticism, really. But the comment where Hasan says things like the Houthis are doing cock and hanging out with the captain, and
they're doing what?
It seems like propaganda. Hasan's interview with the Houthi guy.
Hold on.
He says,
"Yeah,
like, dude, this is the problem. Okay, you're opening up like a faucet of like weird shit that most people don't know. You're coming across." You know, okay, I'm gonna bring this back to like transphobia once again, because it's like a very noticeable pattern of insanity that when you're in it, you don't recognize, but when you're outside of it, it's like pretty obvious. What this chatter is doing on the Majority Report right now is kind of like having a random guy come up to you and be like, did you know that like they're chopping children's penises off? Did you know about this? Like, it's like obsessive. It's obsessive and it's weird. And like most people, even in the space, most people like Emma Vigeland and Sam Cedar, who even know me, are probably not aware of what the fuck you're talking about. You're like panting and excited to be like, did you know that this is what's going on? It's like, it's not like, it's a very weird thing that you're doing. And I don't know how to, like, I don't know how to describe this to people. Like, maybe, hopefully one day they will understand that, like, this kind of shit is, like, visibly off-putting to most normal people, but I don't know.
He won't call them hostages, right?
What is he
They are
saying?
hostages, let's be real. And he says
dude,
they're
hold on.
doing
I
cock,
have
they're
no
partying.
context. I didn't see the
Oh, okay.
interview. I have none of this context.
So you
principle,
called it a great interview and told everybody they should watch it, but you didn't watch it.
No, I saw a clip of it. I saw probably 2 minutes of it. I didn't watch the full context. I don't watch Hasan that much. I'm friendly with him. I like his politics. Hold on. Hold on.
Okay.
On principle, I agree that we should be learning more about Houthis, about Hezbollah, about resistance groups to Israel, because this is a region that the West, and particularly the United States, has been exploiting for its oil, for its resources, and has been waging wars in that area. We killed...
Like, I love your content, and it's helped a lot in the formation of my empathy as I left my bigoted home years ago, but I am not online enough to comprehend or care about these weirdos. I'd rather just enjoy your content and live my life in the rest of the world. Yeah.
Up to 1 million people in Iraq. We are midwifing a genocide in Gaza. And so understanding where they're coming from is very important. And I think it's Western chauvinism to pick apart their ideology from the outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would just say you should watch the interview because it is propaganda. He doesn't do those things. He compares them to the number one
I don't care.
Character, superhero character, guy with superpowers, number one anime character, and then says things about the hostages. I think you should go watch it.
Let me ask you this question.
He's comparing them to a character. You don't understand. You need to do something about this now. It's like, come on, dude. Come on.
Question. Let me hold on for a second. I'm curious. What do you what do you think is behind, like, let's say when like Richie Torres right now apparently is really focusing on attacking Hasan. What do you think is behind this? Like, I mean, we have hours and hours. I mean, for the first 6 months of this, of Israel's assault on Gaza, for instance, I could name to you the names. I could actually identify IDF spokespeople. I can't even do that with American military spokespeople. I can't do that. But they were on our TV so often. So what is like, and I think would you concede that?
Yeah, that's wrong.
Incredibly often, hold on, that they are not challenged by these hosts of these shows that go out to millions upon millions of people?
It depends upon the show.
I mean, you wouldn't refute that. Like, I mean, we're talking hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Maybe not all shows, but the vast majority.
No, that's true. I wouldn't refute that.
Okay, so I'm curious. No, I'm curious though. What do you think the obsession is of this? Because we didn't get the amount of phone calls that we got for any given interview with IDF spokespeople was rather limited. I didn't see Richie Torres or really anybody for that matter go after any type of journalists who were not questioning. I'm just curious, what do you think this blowback is? Like, because from my perspective, without really, to be totally honest, knowing.
Law, the latest clip on the Reddit is about how you made Austin uncomfortable by showing him terrorist propaganda. They're saying it's another Nick situation, Lemafayal. Yeah. Austin, who is my podcast co-host, one of my closest friends, on this broadcast, like on this in this entire space, who knows my entire family, who literally sits with me and does political commentary in that same broadcast for 4 hours, was uncomfortable being next to me. Like, that is the level of like, this is how it works. This is how you get other like parasocial losers to basically view a situation that is objectively the opposite, right? Like, you can psych yourself into just believing something that is so stupid. Anyway, let's continue.
Too much about the principle. It's just, I find it fascinating that we have now turned that the whatever you want to call it, what is it, Hasbara or Hasbara or the push by Zionists now is all second or third order stuff as the images keep rolling in, as we see people burned alive in tents, as Israel a year into this, they have literally killed the people who would negotiate getting the hostages out. They have all but abandoned, and certainly I'm not speaking, this is not me, this is not conjecture, this is just from Israeli reporting, abandoned any attempts to get the hostages back. And now, like, the number one thing that I see coming out of Zionists is about an interview that Hasan did.
Nobody believes it. They all watch the full stream. Hey, watching. They have the full context. They're just jerking off via Reddit comments. I know, but like who does this like actually change the minds of? Right? Like, what happens? Someone goes, wow, a lot of Hasan's close friends seemingly hate him. So then what happens? Like, next week he's on, or the next day he's on the broadcast, and then we just move on.
6 months ago.
9 months ago, who I'm now, apparently the kid wasn't even Houthi. Apparently the kid was just participating in the blockade, which was extremely righteous. That these resistance groups
The funny, not funny, but like the craziest thing is they're going to get this fucking kid killed, okay? At this point. Like, all these like dumb Westerners are going to get him in trouble with either the Ansar Allah administration that has already arrested him before, or America. You know what I mean? He's just going to get fucking killed. And then what? Okay, you got it. You killed another 19-year-old in Yemen, you know? Just another fucking Tuesday. It's really, really, really frustrating that kind of dumb shit like makes people feel happy and excited. Like your life still sucks, you know?
In the area.
But wait, I'm just curious. What do you think accounts for that? Like, why is Richie Torres focused on this 8 to 9 months after this interview was done? What do you think that is?
It's the Twitch. It's what's going on with Twitch is the reason why it's come back.
You say, tell me Richie Torres is a big Twitch fan?
No, it was a big deal then, and it was talked about then, but it died down.
No, it wasn't. The only people that talked about it were talking about it in positive terms, or it was literally journalists that were reaching out to be like, hey, can I get his contact so we can also interview him? No one gave a shit. Y'all, this, again, it probably popped off in your Discord. It probably popped off in the subreddits that you visit. But like, no, it did not reach like broader fucking consciousness or in a way that you want to present it as. Okay? And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, what you see in your hug box, what you see in your echo chamber seems so real to you. And then you were ripped away from that in a brief moment when you are either outside and trying to explain this to like normal people and you realize like, no, most people don't see it in the same way that you do.
And with Frogan saying the thing about soldiers with PTSD, the spotlight's on Twitch, and that's one of the most blatant things that's been done on Twitch. That's why that gets brought up.
You know what I would suggest to you?
One comment.
Let me suggest, make a suggestion to you. Instead of getting super involved in these in Twitch dramas, if you want drama, go and watch some of these videos and get involved in the actual dynamic.
About the ethno state and how they hate brown people.
Well, I mean, I think you should do. I think
Sure.
you should
talk to a person in real life.
I would. I mean,
calling people trust fund kids, and the only people who are angry about this are trust fund losers, and all the things that was said this.
I think you've lost the thread already. You were okay for about 10 seconds, but then you went off. Look at the first order issue.
You're 100% right. There's a lot of horrible things being said, but pushing propaganda over here doesn't make it okay doing it over here. That's my only point.
What is propaganda?
Yeah, on this 9-month-old interview that I did watch at the time. I don't remember it. Obviously, it's clearly as. Can I keep talking?
Months old, it's okay.
Yeah, no, I'm saying what I'm saying is I watched at the time. I did not think anything was actually that problematic about it. I thought it was an interesting view of things. Not that I would say take people hostage, but to the extent that there are, say, boats being taken hostage in certain areas, I look at like what's causing this issue, and I don't like isolate it into one thing and say, oh well, this person, look at this bad thing of a statement from a political group. Like, what are we talking about?
What's fascinating is the argument that we hear that it's Hamas's fault. Like Hamas made Israel kill all of these civilians, right? Like that transitory, the responsibility is not on the person taking the action. It's on the person who provoked the action. But couldn't you make that same argument with the Houthis? Like if it's so transitory, like, well, look at what Israel made the Houthis do. Like there's, let's ascribe agency to everybody who's involved in there. Let's ascribe a certain amount of like implications. Yep. The Houthis definitely inhibited food that could have gone to the people in Sudan, because that is where some of those shipments came, and that responsibility is on them. They were the only country, I guess, if you want to say, that was responding to this slaughter of Palestinians. If you want to say that the Houthis are responsible for this, how can you in any way say the Israelis aren't responsible for the deaths of thousands upon thousands upon thousands of children? Never minding, like, in the future, never mind that the numbers are probably higher than the ones that...
It's funny because if you said exactly what Sam is saying here, I have. There'd be 6 hate threads saying Hasan supports terrorism law. I have. The difference is that Sam is a media professional that has been doing this for years and years and years and deserves a lot of respect from a lot of these other like younger folks that have maybe watched him here and there. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that they trust him. You need to understand something. I don't care if people fucking despise me. Okay? As long as their heart is in the right place, as long as like they're also recognizing that Israel is doing a genocide, as long as they recognize that like that has to end. It's the same principle behind when people were like, Hasan, you bought a house, you're fucking rich, but a socialist. Hasan, you're rich, but a socialist. Like, fuck you. How does that work? It's like, no, it's good. Remember the conversation I had with Ethan when I was getting fucking yelled at for buying a house? And one of the things I told him in one of the first ever Leftovers episodes was like, it's healthy to not like rich people. I think getting mad at me is, probably not the most appropriate venue, right? I think it's kind of silly, and only time will show how silly it is. And time has shown that it's a silly thing to fucking yell about. Okay. Having said that, however, I think it's, keep that energy for wealthy and powerful people and the disdain you have for wealthy and powerful people across the board. The issue is a lot of these people are not mad about the power imbalance or the way that society is designed to churn out certain results that help the super wealthy. They just don't like that I am telling them that shit is fucked up and also have become successful in that process.
That we even quote at this point. Never mind like the massive trauma that these children, half of the population there under the age of 18, are going to be subjected to over the decades. Somehow that's not the responsibility of Israel. Somehow the 70 years, 80 years now of nearly 80 years of essentially occupation, or, you want to call it, Warsaw Ghetto style blockade around Gaza, however you want to characterize it. That's all not Israel's fault.
And Nicola writes in, fundamentally, Hasan was trying to humanize a 19-year-old Yemeni kid who's known genocide most of his life. He didn't elevate some monster you people are crying are lost in ideology. And that kind of sums it up, because I guess I just learned, recently that wasn't even a kid that was Houthi. He was just a Yemeni kid that was participating in resistance.
I'm sorry,
so
even if he was, the question Hasan asked, which is like, sure. What about anti-Semitism? You agree that's bad? He's like, yes, we agree that we don't want to get...
That's the other part of the interview where I like directly asked him about like Jewish people, whether he's a Houthi or not. You know what I mean? What am I supposed to do? Fucking dunk on a... Like they just want me to like debate a 19-year-old in Yemen who does not speak English, who has, once again, only known genocide his entire life, only known famine his entire life. I am supposed to assume that he is lying.
Confused, and that there's something to ask about the Houthis because of statements like death to America, death to Jews. He says it is related to the Zionism.
A YouTuber I like made a fuck Sam video, so I left a comment saying he was wrong. He blew up on me, and then I criticized him for never covering Gaza. Since then, he has uploaded over a dozen videos on the topic. I thought that was kind of cool. That's amazing. That's good. That's good shit. Okay? Get these motherfuckers to talk about Gaza. That's great. You have now successfully made something positive out of like a fuck Hasan video. That's fine. That's the funniest thing when people are like, I'm pro-Palestine, actually, even though I've noticeably been quiet for the past 12 months of genocide. And the only time I'm ever going to talk about it is when I'm cynically critiquing a person who has, done as much as he can to communicate what is fucking going on.
And look, you can say he's dishonest about that, but that question was asked.
But I'm sorry. If these groups say death to America, we have to reckon with that.
Why do they say that?
We have. This is because
they hate our freedom.
They just hate us for our freedom.
McDonald's and Burger King.
This is like that's the underlying thing that is also very frustrating about these sorts of conversations, is that like you are very deliberately dulling your own perspective. Like you are very deliberately making yourself dumber. You are closing off an entire fucking, like you're closing yourself off from like additional information and succumbing to unserious and childlike analysis. When you do this, you are turning into a Steven Crowder style person. And it's kind of funny because like many people who used to be fans of mine who now like hate me or whatever used to laugh alongside me when we used to make fun of people like Steven Crowder for saying these idiotic things like they hate us because of our freedoms. Like they hate us. That's why they're saying death to America, because we got gay people here. It's like, no, dude. It's like, why are you an otherwise intelligent person, an otherwise empathetic person, so willingly shutting off a part of your brain and then turning around and believing, like purposely trying to get yourself to believe a thing that you might not have believed a year ago?
Playboy and stuff.
That we have to reckon with that. First of all, the assumption that this kid was Houthi when he was just Yemeni and participating in the blockade, you could argue that that's a little racist. Secondly, if they're saying death to America and they're saying horrible things, we are the world's superpower. As I mentioned, we have like
just take the last
Great
century.
Britain, France, other imperial powers carved out the Middle East for their own imperial interests, and then post World War II, the United States basically took over the mantle, and Israel has been a big part of that policy. We have ruined the lives for millions of people in that region, killed up to 1 million people in Iraq, and then of course what we've done to the Palestinian people. Of course they don't like America. And if you can't deal with that, you're a little baby. And then you don't really want to deal with, I think, the reality of what we mean as a global empire on the world stage and the kind of resistance that's going to come up. And it's not going to always be resistance groups that have our exact ideology. I wish that there were more secular.
It's not always Mandela.
But Barghouti is in a Israeli prison and has been there for 20 years. Where is the Palestinian Mandela? He's locked up, dude.
Bomb to
That's
smithereens.
why.
Well,
so like this helps. What this kind of framing about Muslim and Arab people in the region engenders is that flattening of the power dynamics here to make it as so they're just basically all anti-Semites and bigots and America haters, when they are actually responding in ways that they can. And some of these groups are good and some of the tactics are wrong and some of the groups are bad. Some of the tactics are good. Who knows? Whatever. But the overall problem is American imperialism in the region. And everything else that you're dealing with are semantics to obscure that very reality.
We should also say, and someone reminds it, like, you know, if you take 10 minutes to understand 5 minutes, we provided a lot of support for the Saudis bombing in Yemen, resulting in the deaths of I don't know how many thousands upon thousands of people. It breeds resent. It turns out it breeds resent.
Yeah.
It breeds resent. Call from an 870.
Damn. Pack watch.